Dominic Fedee, I'm the Minister of Tourism for Saint Lucia and also the Chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much for taking a moment to speak to Breaking Travel News. We're here on the first day of World Travel Market here in London. Perhaps you could tell us how important the UK is as a source market for Saint Lucia and for the Caribbean more generally.
Well, very important for Saint Lucia. It makes up about 25% of our business in Saint Lucia. For the Caribbean, it's about 5%, but very critical. I would think the second most important market in terms of arrivals and yields. Now, the other thing that I want to say is that it's immensely important for us to be here. And, the Caribbean is very well represented here at WTM. I mean, I can look across and I see Tobago, I see the Bahamas, Antigua. In this CTO booth, you've got Martinique, Saint Lucia, St. Vincent, and a lot of the other islands. The private sector has come together nicely as well. And we are sharing this booth together. So immensely important is the UK, and which is why you see such a big presence in the Caribbean village.
I think perhaps the Caribbean has been slightly unfairly represented here in the UK, given the impact of the hurricanes last year. Obviously there was very negative impact on certain destinations, but a lot of the Caribbean was unaffected.
Yes, it was. And the media glare that came with some of the islands, a lot of those islands were British overseas territories, and some high-profile politicians came through, and that got a lot of media attention. And I think as well that the Caribbean had not seen a hurricane season such as the one we have seen last year, and that did bring a lot of media coverage and a lot of talk. But it really goes to show how vulnerable we are, and that climate change is a real issue, and that we need to find a global position on climate change. I think that in the words of the Dominican Prime Minister, he's absolutely spot on when he says that the Caribbean is in a war that we have not fought, but yet we are the biggest victims. And that kind of sums up our position on climate change and the impacts of climate change, in that we are not big pollutants of carbon emissions, but yet we are worst affected as small island developing states.
And you're taking steps to get that message out around the world with the new disaster administration in Jamaica, I believe, and that's going to help project those messages around the world.
It's an absolutely crucial development in the area of resilience for the Caribbean. We are the world's most tourism dependent region, and so we've got to make sure that we do everything we can to mitigate against natural disasters, to prepare ourselves adequately, and to be proactive in the fight and not reactive.
Okay. And we spoke last year at the United Nations World Tourism Organization in Jamaica as well. And you were keen to highlight the development aspects of the hospitality sector for Saint Lucia and across the Caribbean as well.
Well, it's of immense economic and social value for the Caribbean. A lot of our countries have finally appreciated what it means to be a tourism economy and understand the role that tourism can play. Even those oil and commodity producing economies like Trinidad and Guyana, they are here in very large numbers as well. But tourism is such an amazing way of building a country's economy. We were talking to representatives from the biggest economy in the world yesterday, and they were saying that tourism represents about 10% of their total exports and about 30% of their total GDP contribution in the services sector. So if they, with so many options, recognize the role that tourism can play, how much more so don't we in the small island developing states in the Caribbean that depend on tourism for our economic and social development.
Those are very interesting points, Minister, and I appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.